Thank you for checking out this little teaser of the history of the papacy and church. Here's a little taste of what's coming up soon on the History of the Papacy podcast. Now, if you like what you hear, I'd love it if you'd leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. If you want to support the podcast even more, consider becoming a Patreon on patreon.com/history of the papacy. There are many levels and benefits for you, and you help keep the history of the papacy going. You can learn more about all of this at historyofthepapacypodcast.com. With that, here's another piece of the mosaic of the popes of Rome and Christian church, and I will definitely be talking to you more soon. Socialism is as hard to define as capitalism. There isn't strictly one straight definition, but let's try. Socialism is in many ways a critique of capitalism and the inequalities and iniquities that come out of capital largely being in the hands of a few. In many ways, socialism and capitalism are both concerned with liberty, individual freedoms, and personal control. Both capitalism and socialism are firmly rooted in the Enlightenment ideal. They are modernist, putting both capitalism and socialism at odds with the Catholic Church and their more traditional view of how society should be organized. Ideas of communism and socialism can be traced back as far as antiquity, but it really gets its modern roots with philosophers at the end of the 18th century. And there's an upcoming episode where I will be talking with a professor about the history of communism in particular and some of the damage, you might say, that communists had with the church and the church had with communists. But we'll save that for another day. Now, the focus of socialism is much more on the control of labor, on the ownership of its labor and the produce of its labor. Socialism is in many forms moves towards the collective ownership of capital. Not all forms of socialism have complete collective ownership of all property, but the scales are more tipped in that direction.